My house as it is from my wife. I don't need any more. The JV at my house from my wife. I don't need any more.
Guys, sorry, I was busy talking when I should have been paying attention to the time.
That's okay.
What's going on? Okay. Hey, everybody, we're gonna get started because we're just a couple minutes past. I'm sorry I was mingling when I should have been paying attention to the time. So welcome to team meeting. I'm excited. We're going to go really quick through some announcements today just so that we can give Mr. Marcus Green enough time to cover the market update because we've got a lot to go through for Q1. So let's start with just a couple quick. I want 2, 3 max bucket fills. Short, sweet. Let's do it. Steph.
Sean, thank you. It was amazing. I needed his help the other day and he was there for me, so I appreciate it.
I don't know if there's ever a week Sean doesn't get a bucket fill. Nice job, Sean. All right. Who else? Bucket fill. Shauna.
Kelsey out at Old Republic, and she got back to me on Sunday morning and talked my client off a cliff.
Awesome. I love it. Nice job. She's not here, but congrats. Okay. Anybody else? One more? Nope.
Right.
Okay. Couple things coming up this weekend. Bradley, what do you want to tell us about Content Catalyst?
So it's going to be, I think, a lot of fun. It's just a way I can get you guys to, or get me to collaborate with you guys on content. So I've sent out some topics and formats for filming. And if you guys want to participate, just text me or email me. There's also a sign up link on our calendar. We're just going to shoot a video of whatever you want, skit, interview, green screen, and then I'll film, edit it, send it over to you, and you can post it, and we'll collaborate. So just an easy way to get some social media.
You guys are following us on social media right now. You're really missing out because we are putting out some high quality guys. Seriously, listen, guys, this is when I get really proud when I get like a message from my daughter who's like, "Mom, your social media lately, I'm here for it. It's so good." And it's all Bradley. So if you want yours to have a little elevation too, come to this tomorrow noon to 2. On Thursday, we've got Conversation Mastery with Coach Allison. Is it on Zoom only or in person only or both? Both. So if you want to practice conversations, you can show up however you can make it there. Also Thursday, we'll have a slide for this, but we're doing a market update with Johnny and myself. And then Friday, we have Pathway to Production. This is the mastermind that we've been covering, the Shift book. We have, I think, 2 weeks left of Shift. Oh, okay, that's like a little too much. Listen, I don't know who's trying to set the tone, but this is not it. So let's like go ahead and bring those back up. Okay. Listen, I'm legally obligated to say I'm doing this. So if you guys want to join me and Johnny, if you didn't get enough stats today and you're just like, man, I just want to go deeper into this Utah market, we're going to be doing this on Thursday morning at 10 a.m. It is on Zoom only. You must register to get the link. It is not our regular KW Success link. So I need to hear you. I need to say this again because someone on Thursday morning is going to say, I'm in the Zoom link and I can't figure it out. It's not on our regular link. So if you want to come to it, register. Okay, guys, we're just going to have the lights up because this is going to really drive me crazy.
Go back 1 sec.
Also, just so you guys, full disclosure, so nobody gets nervous thinking they've got to come listen to me yap for an hour and a half. This is mostly Johnny. I'm just going to chime in with some witty comments here and there. So,
Who wants to hear from Rusty more than John?
well, only like 4 hands went up. So that's not the right question to ask. All right, so Breakthrough 120, we have been talking a lot about this. It starts May 4th. I have seen many of you sign up in the room, so I'm excited for you to be there. Here's how I would look at Breakthrough 120. It is going to be the first week of May from 1:30 to 5 in classroom training. And then it is going to really just kick off 120 days of accountability. The market centers that are launching, that have already launched this, that have beta tested it over the last, I don't know, 90 days, 100 years, whatever it was, they're taking on average 9 agreements in the next 20 days. So if I'm an agent and maybe I'm just feeling like maybe I could do a little bit better with my foundation, maybe I've heard things a bunch of different ways, but I just need to hear them a little bit different. This would be something if 9 agreements in the next 120 days would make a difference in my business, I would sign up for this. So scan the QR code if you want to come. Now, here's the most common question. What if I can't come on Wednesday? That's okay. Can you come the rest of the week? Great. Show up to what you can show up for. Accountability, can anybody actually like hold you accountable? Like gun to your head, make your calls accountable.
I do with Dalton.
But don't self-accountable. A literal gun, that's scary. But you
I didn't give her any bullets.
You guys, accountability starts with self-accountability. So if you're like, I want to come to this because I have 120 days. Can you, somebody, Bradley? I hear it like I'm getting feedback from it. If you want to come to this and you're like, oh, but every Wednesday I won't be able to come to accountability, but I can be accountable the rest of the 5 days of the week and I can report back, like this is for you. So sign up, come check it out. I promise to keep it at least entertaining a little bit. Paint the town red. Allison, what do you want to say about this? Where are you?
Had huge success at open houses the past 2 weeks.
How many contacts signed in over the last red date open house or paint the town red?
Last Paint the Town Red, we had over 100 contacts sign in throughout all the open houses. But even, I was just talking to Michael and he had a very successful open house this weekend. I think they're just working in this market.
Yeah.
Being able to leverage everybody hosting an open house at once and co-marketing them just really creates a frenzy. And it will bring out the cream of the crop hires.
So what are they going to get if they sign the QR code? They're just going to participate with you?
Yeah, they get
Okay.
to sign up for their, if you guys have a listing you want it held open, that's on there. If you are an agent and you want to hold a listing open, or if you already are holding an open house.
And you just want it free co-advertise?
You just wanted us to advertise it.
I love it. Mega Camp, I'm super excited for this. They haven't actually announced any of the keynotes yet, but this is coming up in August 17th in San Antonio, Texas. As a reminder, the price goes up for this on the 30th. So that is Thursday, guys. So if you're planning to come to Mega Camp, right now is early bird. I keep thinking, why is that word so hard for me? It's early bird pricing. So early bird pricing is now till Thursday at midnight. It ends. You'll be sad if you don't get it because it goes up to like $1,200. It is in San Antonio. Mega Camp is one of my favorite events every year. And they were talking about this on our region, or not our region, our national call this Monday. And it sounds like they're even spending with some of the guests, like going deeper and spending even more time really dissecting, peeling back the layers of the business. So that is coming up on the 17th. Red Day is May 14th. Please scan the QR code to sign up. As you guys know, Red Day is every single Keller Williams across the country will close their doors on this day and go give back in the communities. Renew, energize, and donate. We are going to be donating our time at the food pantry. Is that right, Vinci? Is that what it's called? I don't know where you are. I think it's the food pantry in Bountiful. We're doing a fun little Mother's Day brunch on May 6th from 10 to noon. Scan the QR code, bring your mamas if you want to, or come celebrate yourself. Lone Wolf and Transact, as you guys know, this is kicking off at team meeting on the 5th, Cinco de Mayo. We will have 3 trainings a week after that because DocuSign is saying sayonara and Lone Wolf Transact is coming in. I think you guys are going to be really excited when you see how user-friendly this is. Surf and Swim is our next client event. That's Red Bash, the summer. So scan the QR code if you want to sign up and have the marketing. It's June 30th from 7 to 10. So if you have not yet signed up for this, sign up for it. If you have questions, ask Vinci, unless you have Kaylee a question right now.
Winter graphics and event stuff going on.
I don't know.
Okay.
And I don't know where Vinci went. Scan the QR code and I bet you'll find out. Nope. Okay. I'm going to talk more about this in another meeting. You guys, this is super awesome. So we're top 1% in the nation. KW Success, specifically, we're in the Mega 1000 Real Estate Almanac. So this is every year they do the top 1% of the nation, and this is us. So we're here, yay! Out of over 100,000 brokerages, that's pretty cool, right? So over 100,000, only 1,000 are selected. We were one of those. And it's more than a ranking because it's really a reflection of who you guys are. It's the consistency you're showing up with. It's the deciding to make the decision. It's putting your head down and going to work. It's stopping the group doom scroll. You guys get off social media for a minute. Stop the doom scroll and pay attention to what you can do. But this is a reflection of that and the hard work that you've put in and your dedication to just your clients' care. So I'm proud of you guys. And it's just rooted in who we are because we love our agents. We're AI powered and growth focused. So yay, that was a good deal. Make all your calls in a TCPA friendly, compliant way. Marcus is going to talk a little bit about conversations. You need to make sure you're doing those in a way that is not in violation of this. So Marcus Green is going to do our market update. Marcus, for those of you that don't know, is our OP, because I think we have maybe some faces you don't know in the room. So Marcus is our OP. He's been in business for over 20 years. He runs a property management company and a team out of Arizona. He also does real estate here in Utah and is just a leading, I think he's just on the industry leadership board of everything AI and tech focused, and he is thinking way faster than most of us think. I think he thinks the same thoughts in 1 hour that most of us think in 24. So Marcus, it's all yours.
Standing down here and Rusty up here, that's like, we were the same height for like 30 seconds.
Fun fact, last time we were doing this, go ahead and step down. I'll step. Mark David.
Back to back.
Mark David was still taller than me with heels on the stage.
If I was standing up there, Mark David.
Okay, wait, hold on, let's try this.
He'd still be
Let's
taller
try
than
this
me.
with no shoes. Is that closer? I'm big in personality and small.
I was gonna say her personality is
Fine.
a giant compared to mine. I'm so thrilled to be here with you guys today. You guys know I love to flood over the numbers. I'm a nerd, and I do love that. But I will tell you that my favorite part of this conversation is not the numbers. It's that I get to spend FaceTime with you guys. I know how hard you guys are up working on a day-to-day basis, not only in your businesses, but just being good humans, taking care of your families, taking care of the people that are important to you. And I don't want that to go unnoticed. We celebrate life. We celebrate business a lot, but we need to celebrate life. So I just really appreciate who you guys are. So today we're going to talk about the market, obviously, because it's the market update. But if you guys want to really get deep into the stats, I want to make sure that you guys are attending the webinar on Friday with Rusty and Johnny, because they're going to Thursday with Rusty and Johnny, because they're going to go deep into a lot of things. What I want to do today is actually, I pulled out some specific things in the market that I want to talk about. How is it actually showing up in the mind of your consumer. So it's one thing to look at the data and see the result of it, but that is a result of a lot of things that happen. By the time we get a statistic, it means something has happened that was measured, that then was put on a piece of paper in a data set, right? So that's really good to understand, but it's more important to say, what are the things happening that we're putting measurement on that are affecting the data? And that's where we need to get involved. I was this last week, I was in Puerto Rico at a real estate event speaking. I will tell you that as much as I love being on stage teaching leaders and real estate people across the country, it makes it really, really hard when you can see out the window the beach. Sorry, I'm going to make sure this is off. While you're talking, it was beautiful, but the conversation there it was some of the top brokerage owners in the country. So that the brokerage owners who were in the room represent about 35,000 agents, top producing agents across the country. And I just love the conversation we're having in that room because as you guys watch the headlines on a day-to-day basis in Inman and across the industry, what they're talking about, they're putting all the focus on the battle that's going on top with it between the mortgage companies, big brokerages buying each other, mergers, acquisitions. And there's this big fight going on at the top of our industry right now that's getting all of the headline news of Inman and things like that, which is interesting to see what's going on there. But I don't want you guys to lose sight of what's really happening there. What they're really fighting for is data. What they're really fighting for is transaction because of what the transaction means for their bottom line. And what my biggest fear is with our industry right now is if we put all of our energy, time, money into focusing on that, we're losing sight of what our industry is really about. Every single day, people are waking up that need housing to fulfill their personal needs and desires. That is what's happening with the real estate transaction. It's changing someone's lives, and it's a big decision for them. And if we're going to make it about the big, just conglomerate data thing, our industry's at risk. But the way we protect that is not the decisions that are being made by these big, huge corporations with billions of dollars. The way we protect our industry and protect the consumer is the way you guys are choosing to show up every single day. And the people in your database and realize that it's not just a name and a number in a database, but it's an actual human being that has real estate needs. That's only a portion of what they're worried about today. But we can fulfill and help in one way. So the more we can lean in as a community and make sure you're in an environment that is having that conversation, that is what's going to make you thrive and how we're going to protect our industry. If you're getting caught up and you see the people you're following on social media that are just making it about the big, that's the drama. That's the gossip of our industry. And people get sucked into that. But the more you get sucked into that story, the more you separate yourself from what the consumer actually needs today. So as we look at the data today, I can't go through all of it, but what I want to do is approach our conversation a little bit differently. So I'm going to spend a couple minutes just kind of laying the foundation of our conversation. But from your guys' perspective, why is it important for you to understand the market?
Alleviate consumer fears.
Okay, to alleviate consumer fears. I like that. There's a lot of consumer concerns and fears, uncertainty right now. I like that. Why else do you guys have to understand the market? In what way? How do we help our clients?
Them make the decision. Help them make the decision. Understand. But do you want to be here now, or do you want to wait 3 years and maybe interest rates come down, but then house prices go up 100,000 and you're going to be in that middle?
I like that you said help them make the decisions because there's a lot of decisions that every single one of us have to make on a daily basis, right? From the minute we wake up of like, am I going to brush my teeth today? I hope you all did. To like, am I going to move from this house to this house? Am I going to move from this city to this city, right? There are a lot of decisions throughout the process, and there's a lot of agents that are working through, I'm going to help you make the right decisions that get me paid versus I'm going to help you make the right decisions that serve your family. I love that. Justin, you said something I like there. Say that again.
Say a lot of things.
You do. It's true. It's true.
Like help them discover the questions that they should be asking.
I love this because earlier on in my career, I answered questions. They knew the questions to ask. The consumer would wake up and say, oh, I've got a question about real estate. I'm going to call a real estate agent. Marcus is the coolest guy I know. I'm going to call him. And they'd ask me a question. It makes me feel better to say it that way. but then I would give an answer. That's not what happens anymore. A lot of times they don't know the question to ask because the market is so confusing right now. In 25 years in the industry, the market is more fluid and it's just harder to understand than ever before, even for someone that plays in the space. So they're not asking the right questions. We've got another layer of complexity on that today that we didn't have even 2 years ago about questions that need to be answered that we're going to talk about today. So the point, did you have a comment there?
Another thing is just, there's so much information out there that how do they know what to believe? So we can be the source that's accurate information.
I love this because there is more information at people's fingertips than ever before, right? It used to be they had to call a real estate agent for information. Then it was, I'd go to a couple sources of truth that have some validity. And now there's 1,000 different ways to get information and questions answered. And not all 1,000 of those answers are the same. So how do you filter it? It becomes confusing where it's like, do I just go with the closest, easiest answer? Or do I sift through it? Do I have the time to like figure out what's right, what's wrong? So the consumer has a lot more decision fatigue than they've ever had before, okay? So all these are really interesting conversations. So obviously our clients expect some things from us. They expect us to understand pricing. They expect us to know trends. They want us to guide their decisions. They want us to be the expert. However, they're now questioning whether we can do those things because they have other options. So here's the question I want to start with is you guys, this room particularly, I feel confident that you guys would give good answers if your clients were asking good questions. I have confidence in this room that you would give good answers if they were asking not very good questions, because you would help them draw out the right questions and you would give good answers. So this worked good the last couple of years. The problem is now is, do you even get the chance to know what their question is? Because they're not asking you. They're not starting with you. Where are they starting now? Hey, it's interesting. A couple of years ago, Zillow proved this, that the consumers would start with a home search on Zillow. They own that market now. Okay, they own the primary eyeballs, but now they don't. But they don't. People are going there to look at inventory, but they're not going there to ask questions. So for a minute, they would go to Zillow for inventory, which would create some questions, and then they would go to agent with a question. Okay, Zillow hopes they'd click a button there for the agent because then they could sell the lead. But now they're going there for inventory and understanding what's on the market, see pictures, but then they're going to their LLM of choice, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, with the questions. Now, are the LLMs, is AI smart? No. It's got to be pretty smart because it says intelligence in the word. It's very good at retrieving information and putting it together, but it's organizing it based on how the question's asked. Not only how the question's asked, but what are the last 100 questions this user asked me, okay? So it's drawing on what it thinks you want to hear. So it's really interesting. What if they get their answer somewhere else first? So this is what used to happen. Old is they used to ask their agent. Old is they used to Google it. New is they're going straight to LLM. Now, how often are normal consumers, like I would say our industry, this group probably uses AI a little bit at a deeper level than the consumers. The consumers are the last one to the space. Remember when you first started using chat and you were like, whoa, these answers are pretty impressive. Whoa, this is pretty complete. Like that we've now learned that there's a thing in AI called hallucination, meaning that if they don't know, if the LLM doesn't have all the information, it's to be fast, it says, I'm going to guess. And it makes it sound shiny and really good. And then we believe it as the consumer. This is happening to your clients right now as they enter into the AI space, is they're asking simple questions, a lot of times broken up questions because people don't like to type out full sentences. And then they're getting an answer back that sounds polished and professional, and then they believe it to be true. My question is how often is that answer actually the best answer for what they really want to accomplish in their life?
Estimates.
It's like the estimates, right? We look at it and say, when we go put together a CMA, we actually do the work. Where that's just like, it's close enough. You want a conversation, right? It's similar to that. So here's what I want to do today is think through this a little bit different way. So AI gives answers. But what I want to make sure we're doing is we're providing the strategy. And if, again, we have to have a conversation to get to the strategy. We're not going to convince. In fact, you couldn't convince me. I am a very, very avid user of AI. I think I have the ability to think at a faster pace than I've ever thought in my life right now. I have the ability to execute at a faster pace than I've ever been able to execute right now. This is the most powerful tool we've ever seen in our life if we use it that way. And it could also create confusion. It could actually slow you down if you're not using it in the right way. And it's the same way with the consumer now, is they're going to ask the questions there, but they're not going to be very thoughtful in how they're asking the question. They're going to get an answer, and if they think that answer is true, they're going to follow through with whatever that information was, but they're missing the actual important strategy of what we bring to the table to help them get what they need, what they actually need done in a fiduciary way in a transaction. So how do we, what I want to go through the journey today is how do we actually close the gap? How do we, instead of portraying that you're just the knowledge base, that you just have the knowledge that they should call you, they're already going somewhere first, is how do we portray your value proposition beyond answers, but it's actually strategy they need through the process. Because they are still going to go to AI. How do you support that and provide strategy around that? Okay. So what I want to do is I did some research and I outlined what are the top 11 questions that your clients are waking up today and asking AI. And I thought it would be interesting to kind of build our conversation today around that, to say, what are they actually asking? How are they asking it? What is the answer they're likely getting? And then let's jump into some data to say, what don't they know? And then I want to give a couple suggestions of like, all right, we know some things they don't. We know kind of how AI would answer their question, so we know the gap. And then how do we go interject ourselves into the conversation early enough that our clients aren't just accepting that as gospel truth, okay? So it's a little bit of a different process than what we normally go through, but I think this is really relevant to how we're showing up on a day-to-day basis right now, okay? Does this sound okay? So here's the questions that they're asking. And by the way, if you look at it, this answer is now a good time, or this question is now a good time to buy. So how do people use ChatGPT the most in here? That's usually the LLM that most people are using. That's the one the consumers mostly use as well. How many of you use chat on a regular basis? Okay, so when I say chat, what I'm really saying is any LLM that they're possibly using, but I'm just going to use that as a preference today. So is chat exclusive to Utah?
No.
Is chat exclusive to the US? So when it gets asked a question like this, it's pulling your IP address and kind of understanding where you're at, but it doesn't know if you're visiting. It doesn't know if you live there. It doesn't know what neighborhood you live in. So it's taking this, and that's the entire question. So what it's got to do is, and by the way, it's trying to save what are called tokens, because it takes energy for it to go answer the question. And this user in AI, are they a paid user or are they using a free version? So chat on the back end, the owners of chat or whatever LLM it is saying, how do I answer the question as fast as I can to make this person continue to use me, but save as much energy and tokens as possible for people that are actually going to pay for them? Okay, so you think about it, like this is what's happening. We think it's just instantly being brilliant out the front. What it's doing is, how quick can I make you think I'm brilliant and give you the answer you want so we can move on? Okay. So is now a good time to buy? It doesn't have enough context and from a good question to go. Like if your client came in and asked you this question, would you answer it with an answer? No, we're like, it depends. Let's get in. Let's talk through this. Where chat is going to be, you asked me a question. What am I programmed to do?
Give answers.
I'm programmed to give you an answer.
And give answers that entice you to keep going. So if I give you a negative answer or scare you off, are you going to keep asking questions and keep moving forward? No.
That's it.
Right.
Okay. This is important for us to understand. So I'm just going to fly through these questions. Should I wait for prices to drop? Will interest rates go down? Can I afford to buy? Rent versus buy, which is better? What is my home worth? Should I sell now or wait? What will the market do this year? How long will it take to sell? What should I do to prepare? And I added a bonus question because it's one that we don't want to think is being asked to AI. What is it?
What?
What?
Why should I hire you?
Why should I hire an agent? Do I really need an agent? This question is getting asked a lot. Did you know that there's actually a new, it's not even really a brokerage, but they're portraying themselves as a brokerage in Florida, started in Florida, that will expand out, that their whole promise is you don't need a real estate agent. AI will do it all for you. Because they have access to the forms. They can tell you how to fill it out. They can do a CMA for you. So that is trained. If they go there, it will tell them why all the reasons that they don't need you. Okay. So this is interesting. So what I want to do is we don't have time to answer all of these questions. And if you think about it, the way we would approach a lot of these questions is we pull them back to categories. We'd ask follow-up questions to say, okay, well, several of these is really an affordability conversation. How do I get into that bucket? By asking good questions, right? Some of these are inventory questions. How do I ask good questions to talk about inventory and economics? Some of this is personal economic conversation. How do I ask good questions to get into that bucket? So what I want to do is we're gonna just outline a couple of these. We're gonna focus on, is now a good time to buy? We're gonna talk about, can I afford to buy? We're gonna talk about, should I sell now or wait? And then we're gonna end with talking about, do I really need a real estate agent? And what we're gonna do for each one of these is we're going to, number one is, how is the consumer asking it? Because that's important to understand. When they wake up and have the question, how are they thinking in their mind about asking the question? What do they really mean when they ask the question? Like a lot of you guys know I have teenage daughters. A lot of times the question they're asking me is not really the question they want to ask. So I got to be like, okay, what's the real emotion around this? Help me understand it so I can give the right answer. Okay. What is AI answering them? And then how are you going to answer differently? And then we'll talk about the data that supports that. And then I want to talk briefly around how do we get in front of the consumer in a new way? We're not going to break a pattern. The pattern's already established of them going to AI. How do we break a pattern of them having 100% confidence in what AI is telling them? And they use that as a starting point of like, I'm more educated now that I can ask better questions to my strategist and consultant who is my real estate agent. Okay, that is the pattern we want to go to. For those of you that have been in business long enough that we went from MLS to like Zillow started, there was no way that we could stop Zillow from what they were doing. Okay, the eyeball search battle is done, but what we could do is train our consumers to be like, yes, start there, and then let me fill in the gaps. Now we need to do the same. They're going to still start there. Then they're going to go to AI for questions. And then now we need to create a pattern of, I saw inventory. I asked basic questions. I'm going to go now strategize and get the deal done. Okay. That is the pattern new pattern we've got to establish. So let's start with this first question. Is now a good time to buy? So what are they really feeling when a consumer asks this question? You guys tell me, what are some things they're really thinking about this? Like what's drawing that question out from them? Fear. Okay, they got some fear around it. Is now a good time to buy? Like if they're asking the question, is there some desire to buy there? Like someone that wakes up and is like, I have no inclination to buy a house. I don't want to buy a house. I don't need a house. They're not going to go to an LM and be like, what question should I ask? Ooh, is now a good time to buy a house? They're going there because they have some desire already, right? So now but they're not convinced it's a good time. So there is some uncertainty or fear around like, I want to know, is right now a good time? Okay, what are some other feelings or thoughts they may be having if they're asking this question? Sherry.
Anxiety, and they don't want to regret.
Okay, this is one is, if I do it now, am I going to regret? There's nothing worse than buyer's remorse or buying something that you're showing off to your friends and 2 weeks later, someone bought it for way cheaper than you. Yep, or if you don't do it now, and now it's more expensive and you kick yourself if I should have done it. Okay. So regret, fear of, am I going to get burned? Some element of, am I going to regret this? Am I going to regret not doing this? Okay. These are the things we got to start thinking about to be good. What's this?
Choice anxiety.
Choice anxiety. Okay. I love all this. So they don't want to make a mistake. What if I buy at the wrong time? Should I just wait? So these are all things that they're thinking through. So one of the things I really want to make sure that we're doing from a skill set standpoint is we do this every single day. A lot of us are fast-paced, high drivers, and when someone asks us a question, what do we want to do? We want to show how smart we are and answer the question. I want you to slow down and acknowledge the question they're asking. Even if it's you saying, hey, you're probably asking this question because you're worried about making a mistake. Let me ask you a question. Are you more worried about buying now and then finding out prices go down? Or are you more worried about not buying now and prices being higher later and regretting it? Like asking some of these questions to follow up with it, but acknowledging this word right here. What are the real emotions around it? People make decisions. They want logic. They're going to AI for logic. Can AI feel? It cannot. Can you empathize? Right? You can say, I think I understand how you're feeling. I felt this way. Last week, I helped Mary and Jonathan Johnson do the same thing. They felt exactly like you did. And this is where we're at in the process. But this is how we accomplished it. Okay. So all this is really important for us to like really realize what AI does well and what it does not do well. And we got to be better at that. Okay. So what do they actually mean? Am I going to hurt myself financially if I buy right now? One way or the other. That's their biggest concern. Okay. Am I going to hurt myself financially if I do this? What AI typically tells them is going to come back and be like, oh, right now rates are high, prices are high, inventory is improving, waiting might help, timing is uncertain. It's interesting. Mish came up to me at the beginning of this real quickly and just gave me a quick example of, she asked AI a question about a week ago and asked her in her same account a question again and got two different answers. It's because it's in that moment. What answer is it reaching for? What answer is immediate for it? How hard is it working on other people's questions? So it's really interesting. It's going to pull on one of these things based on what news articles came out that day. Okay. Now, all of these are interesting topics. All of these do play into their decision, but it doesn't interact with their personal economic situation. So what's missing is, I want you guys to think in context. I want you constantly thinking in the world today, what is the context around that? Where did they draw information on this? Like we used to think of this from a standpoint of a consumer thinks all real estate agents are the same, but asking a real estate agent that does this full time, has been doing it a long time, studies the inventory, you're going to get a better answer than an agent with the same license that kind of dabbles in this, but they're really a full-time accountant. Okay, you're going to get a different answer. It's the same thing here. Is all about the context that they're pulling from, and so this is important when someone says, "Well, I talked to chat and it told me to do this," and not telling them like chat's wrong. That's the wrong answer. It's why do you think it was telling you that? I think, or I agree with that, and that's only pulling partial context from a national database of information. Do you think if you're buying a house in Davis County in May of 2026 that we ought to look at the statistics of Davis County in 2026? Let's start there. Let's work it backwards, okay? So these are really important for us to just really think through what context are they getting their information and what context do I bring to the table? Because that's where we start drawing strategy. AI doesn't have AI unless you explicitly give it a bit. And by the way, one thing, how many of you come to our AI conversations where we talk about the quality of the output equals the quality of the input? So they could get better asking questions and they could get better answers from AI, but how good are consumers actually at putting together great prompts? Not great. It's a skill set that most people aren't learning. Frankly, how many of us in this room are actually working on your skill set of being really good prompters? Like to me, when we talk about this being a skill-based market, you guys already know how to show houses. You know how to write contracts. It's, are you increasing your skill of building your context? That is a skill we got to work on.
Example of this just recently talking about, if you were asking, so I have some people that own some land here. They have owned it for a long time. I'm watching value on it. And they saw, it's in Box Elder County, so they saw the data center conversation that's happening in Box Elder County. And his email to me was very much like, I think he did. He doesn't live here. He lives in Indiana, I think he literally probably put it into ChatGPT. And the answer was very different than advice I would give him, right? Because it's very much like, it's just pulling stats from Box Elder County. It's saying, oh, this is development. It's going to bring in 2,000 jobs. What Chat doesn't know is that this is a very, very rural property that sitting on it, I actually am able to pull real data and go, honestly, it's actually worth probably less than when we last talked about it, because now there's more people trying to sell because it's recreation property that they don't want a data center buzzing in the backyard, right? So I just think that's a real world example of, if he hadn't reached out to me in his head, he's sitting on a landmine now. A gold mine, not a landmine. Those are very different.
They're very different.
Very different. sitting on a gold mine, and I'm looking at it going,
You're on a
you
landmine.
were happy with the value last year. It's actually different even now. And so I'd wait and see what's gonna happen with this, right? So I think that's an interesting, like, real world, just yesterday example. That his email he sent to me, I was like, very much, he said, I own this land in Box Elder County, and said, oh, great job. Box Elder County is getting this, that's gonna bring in 2,000 jobs. You should like land bank it or go talk to people, because it's gonna be developable. It's not residential land, that's the difference.
See, this is a great real world example, and I love that you brought that up. The trick with that these anytime, and again, we won't get into this piece of the skill set. It's really hard for me not to go down that rabbit hole of saying like how, like, it would be fun to role play that out, because we live in a world now where people are past the initial fear of AI. Like if you get in a deeper conversation, they're scared robots are going to take over the world at some point, but they're not scared of the answer they're going to get. In fact, they're having overconfidence in those answers now. So if they have overconfidence in it and they're bringing it up, the right answer isn't like, that's wrong. The right answer is, let's understand it better and let's define the context on which it was drawn. And then if we agree on that, then I can introduce new context and have them be like, oh, I see now why it gave me the answer, because it pulled from this context. I like the context you're adding on this, which changes the answer. That's a different conversation than being like, I'm smarter than AI. Okay. Great example.
I'm smarter than
Yeah.
AI. That's actually
You stepped on a landmine. So I'm just going to we're going to fly through stats. What I really encourage you to do, go to the conversation with Rusty and Johnny on Thursday, and then just sit on the stats. Think about them in context of what we're talking about today. But I just want to show you a couple things. Utah median home payment. This is really interesting because we've watched this happen over the last several years, where the median home payment and the couple things that interact for median home payment is based on interest rates, home prices, and then people's affordability of where their income is where this is making a decision point. We saw this happen where the median home price, what someone's paying every single month, went up significantly. And it was a combination of home prices going up and interest rates going up at the same time. Okay. It's interesting. We've watched this go up and we saw these numbers, but look where it's at now. It's for the first time in the last couple of years, we've actually seen this go down. So this is a really interesting conversation when you're talking to buyers. Is now a good time to buy, because their context that they're looking at is this. Their context isn't like, it's actually softened. Now, from a buyer's perspective, depending on what that AI was what article it was reading, I could find an argument saying, this is still too high, it's going to do this. And I can also find an equally compelling argument that says this is a little dip and it's going to go this way. Okay, there's not context there. So we need to bring in the context. And if I had the same graph for Illinois, it might be a different answer than here in Utah. Okay. So again, this is pulling in the context, but this brings up an interesting conversation to be like, hey, the good news is we're in a lull right now. We're probably going to see this balance for a minute, but there's a likelihood this will go back up. Okay. Depending on what rates do, depending on what prices do. Okay. So it's interesting to look at the US, same graph from a US standpoint. Is Utah is more expensive than other places. It's just true. But why do people continue to choose Utah? It's awesome. That is the answer. That's what AI would say. It is awesome. And the truth is the opportunities in Utah are significant. And will we continue to see those opportunities increase? So we can see, and we'll show you some things today. We see a pathway ahead of the likelihood. So everything we're talking about in the past is we know what happened. It's been measured. It's a fact. Anything we're talking about in the future comes down to probabilities. Okay. So if it's no context and we're saying this is what's going to happen, it's a guess. If it's with data and your expertise and strategy, it's probabilities. And that's where people make decisions. Going back to what Steph said, is to help someone make the right decision is you got to start breaking things down into likelihoods and probabilities. And part of this is really important for you to be very clear. Like I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you with certainty what's going to happen, but I can show you likelihood and probability wise what's going to happen and how it plays into your personal economics. Okay. So let's keep going here. US prices, annual appreciation. Really interesting to look at this graph that it has gone down significantly. 1%, 4.6, 1.5. We're up in appreciation from where we were a year ago. Interesting to see compared to the last graph that the median home payment has gone down while appreciation has gone up. Okay, what drives appreciation up is buyer demand. So if buyer demand is there and they're acquiring properties, properties either stabilize in value or they go up, we're seeing appreciation here. So normally when someone is asking the question that we're focused on right now, is now a good time to buy? Generally speaking, how long will a buyer stay in a home? 5 to 7. So it depends on price point a little bit, right? First time home buyer will be 5 to 7. Move up or a final home is going to be more like, now it's getting closer to like 7 to 10 years. So here's something interesting that you could pull in from a strategy is if you're planning on staying in this house for 5 to 7 years, show me a 5 to 7 window in which you would have been burned in buying. Okay. So even if you looked back here from the lowest 12.9% down, and you went back and bought here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. If this person bought here and sold here, did they lose money? Okay, because they experienced 6.6 up 7 point. So 6.6, this isn't just 6.6 plus 7.8 plus 8.4. It's now, this was 7.8 on the new price point that this now is. And this is now 8.4 on top of the new price point that this was at the end of this year. And this is 9.3% up from the price point that this was the previous year. They didn't get burned. This person that bought here and sold here got burned. This person that bought here and sold here got burned. This person that bought here and then sold here got burned. 2-3 window. From 1991 to 2026, the only time in which you would have lost in buying. So now if you're dealing with an investor, a fix and flipper, that's a different conversation. If you're talking to a first-time home buyer that's likely to stay in the home 5 to 7 years, does this give some context? Okay, AI is not going to have this conversation. Map this out, so let's have the conversation. What would it look like? Okay, I'm just giving you examples of how to think through this. Utah, same thing. Like you would have bought here, sold here, you probably would have been close to break even, maybe even a little bit ahead. You would have got burnt this little pocket, but if you would have held and stuck through it, you would have been fine. Okay, so again, just context is the important thing here. It's important to also see Utah's home appreciation, 2%. We went down a little bit. US average went up a little bit, but still 2% appreciation. What does the Fed like to see our appreciation at? 3 to 4%. Some arguments are 2 to 3%. They kind of like this. They like the Feds look at this and get excited. Investors, we look at this and be like, yeah, let's do it. I look at my kids and say, I don't like that. Because I want my kids to be able to afford a home here in Utah. I don't want to have to go to some backwoods in Tennessee to visit my kids. I do like Tennessee. I can.
Go with Iowa. Nobody's in there.
Iowa. Yeah, right. Well, I got a graph. I have a graph that shows that. I'll show you that there's a high likelihood your kids will live in your house. And I'm not just saying you wish it now. It's like fact. It's a stat. Annual homes sell per year. We can see what's happened here. The nice thing is 2023 was the lowest number of transactions that happened in Utah. It's gone up, it's gone up, it's gone up. And we see that we're 3.4% ahead from last year on home sales. What does this tell me? Is it tells me that regardless of the economy, regardless of appreciation, regardless of interest rates, buyer desire, remember when we talk about buyer demand, it's buyer desire plus buyer ability. There still is a combination of buyer desire and buyer ability that is making sense in our state. People are still executing. Now, there's still a portion of people that have the desire but not the ability, but that's the thing to keep the people that have the desire thinking and educated and understanding. And then the conversations you're having is keep the desire there and alive, and then you're just working through buyer ability with them, which is changing every single day on their job. Their ability to cut out Starbucks, their ability to shift into a new industry, their ability to get promoted. All of these things are affecting their buyer ability on a day-to-day basis, okay? So young adults living with parents and grandparents, Russie's kids are going to move in with her. It's interesting to look at 1997. This is higher than I would have anticipated. So these are kids, adults between the ages of 25 to 34. Well, I was surprised that it used to be 10.9%. Does that surprise anybody else?
Yeah.
That it's kind of been in the teens for a long time, but now it is the highest it's ever been at 17.9%. Do you think that's because people love living in their parents' basement?
No.
There's things they love about it.
But it is
Right.
interesting. I mean, look at it started trending up long before we got to expensive home crises timelines, right? That's wild.
It is wild. So I think it's a combination of things. I think there's this culture piece of it. For example, I look at and by the way, I'm just gonna speak my mind, and you can tell me if you don't like it, that's fine. But I look at my kids in high school. The things the high school kids are experiencing from a quality of life standpoint are significantly different than what was normal in my high school. Even with who we perceive to be the cool rich kids, they weren't going to get their nails done for $125 a week, right? Things like that, where that's the norm. Well, my kids don't do it because I made one of my kids go learn how to do nails. But what I'm saying is there's these expectations of life that they are now saying when they become adults. It's if I move out and pay high rent, I don't get to live this life. Mom and dad, I'm living in your basement. Okay.
So I have 3 of my 4 kids are adults and they're at this home buying age. And all 3 of them is exactly that. They would not, it's almost like they forgot the struggle when they were little and what our house looked like and things that we did and didn't have.
Yep.
And so they want to walk into what they've gotten used to.
Yep.
So their expectations are just off. And my kids, embarrassingly enough, are willing to just not bite the bullet and wait until they can walk into the finished turnkey home,
Yeah.
instead of.
They want to walk into the lifestyle
Yes.
that we've worked hard for. And we won't go down this rabbit hole, but it was interesting. Those of you that were at family reunion to hear Gary Vee talk. But Gary Vee is brilliant marketer. His last piece of advice was what? Had nothing to do with marketing. It was cut your kids off. If you want to save America, cut your kids off. Which you could hear, it was like a gut punch in the room for a lot of people. But anyway, we won't go down that route, but this is interesting showing up. What is the average age of a first-time home buyer across the country right now? It's early 40s now. Okay. I'm no longer early 40s, but I am in my 40s. I'm 46. Could I imagine I bought my first house at 21. Could I imagine buying my first house at 46 or expecting my kids? A massive part of my personal net worth is because I started buying homes early. Okay. So how do we help our kids do that? Yes.
It seems a lot more kids than 20%. 2 out of 10 live at home. It feels like there's a lot more than that.
Yeah. And part of that is too where we live. Okay. Because it is if I would dare say if you measured people that live in a county that's a lower income level, things like that, they're telling their kids I raised you.
Mhm.
I need you off my balance sheet. Where I think a lot of us that are more comfortable are easy to be oh,
It's extra room.
yeah, there's extra room. Yeah.
Well, one thing we've noticed too is the era in the helicopter planet. Those kids are not coming into the ages of almost becoming home buyers, but
Yep.
their parents are so involved in their lives, they're oh no, you can't afford that yet, or oh no, let me help you make that decision.
Interesting point.
And we're noticing a lot more of that coming up, and so it's being ahead of that, okay, how do you not only educate the consumer, the home buyer, but their
Yeah.
parents that have been helicoptering them for the past 18 years.
I think it's a really relevant conversation because the how many people aren't pulling the trigger because of the fear of their parents. Because the parents are we're in a different mentality of I'm in wealth preservation mode. But if you went back and looked at their first house, even though it was significantly cheaper, because they're saying my first house I bought was $100,000 basically, $105,000. Okay, a little 3-bedroom in Heber. It was a foreclosure. My kids will never find a house for $100,000 here. Okay, so it's just this idea. I can't be wait till the deal like that, then you'll be okay. They'll never buy. So I think it's a great point, and part of the strategy we got to bring to the table of let's talk context, because AI is bringing context, their parents are bringing context, their friends are bringing context, and you can't come in and say all those contexts are wrong because there's valid information inside of them, but how do we give new context? Steph.
Remember is when we bought our houses, it was by $5.25 an hour was minimum wage. So now it's 15. It's 3 times different. We're
Yeah.
making the exact same amount.
Yeah.
As our kids were at the same time.
Yeah.
It didn't.
all this is that context we got to bring to the table. However, I would dare venture there's people in here that did a transaction last year that you only made $5 an hour. Right? That's part of the nature of our business, right? It's like we're either paid really, really well or we're paid horribly. Yeah.
Do you have a statistic that shows how many people are actually on loans these days? Like over
The
time?
percentage of people that have a loan on their property.
So no, like a co-buyer that has to go in because they just don't show enough income.
Oh, I don't have that stat. That would be interesting to look at, is how many people are getting co-signers. I think we could find it.
From like a single person buying to now 2 people
Yeah.
on the loan.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot more of that it takes dual income, which I'll show you some stats here. Yes.
Oh, my 4 sons just bought a house, last year in East Layton.
Oh, really? Did you say your 4 sons bought it together? Oh,
5 and 21.
yes, that's awesome.
Excited. It wasn't brand new, but it's in a Darling neighborhood.
Yes. Yeah, that's awesome. And it's close for you. That's awesome. Good. Okay, we're gonna keep moving here. Utah by the numbers. These are just interesting to show how strong Utah still is nationally. Like we're from an annual employment growth. This helps affordability a ton. This is really important. High labor force participation. This is huge that Utahns want to work. This is one thing I love about our state is people actually want to go. They want to contribute. They want to work. Unemployment rate, we're the tied for the 19th lowest. I always look how we're beating the country, which is good. We've still got a young median age. We're going up, but we're still lower than the country. Largest household side, low poverty rate, number 1 adjusted income, which again, this is really important for our affordability because this has to move, in my opinion, faster than home prices. Home prices, in my opinion, we will not see a crash here unless something catastrophic happens like World War III. Okay, our prices are going to stabilize for a minute. Interest rates are going to stabilize for a minute. When I say stabilize, there's going to be some movement, but nothing drastic. This is the one that we will start to see move. And then to the point back there is we're seeing now more dual income come together, which can afford more. Okay, where it used to be a lot more on buying homes on single income. Okay, this is interesting to look at wealth migration. So this shows how much net interstate income flows in since 2023. So this is how much not how much is spent on homes, but how much actual income, how much more income is being earned by income earners in each state. So you can see the dark red is that's bad news. And dark green is good news. Florida has increased their taxable income by $21 billion. Okay. Which if you watch the news in Florida, I feel like 90% of the crazy people in our country live in Florida. So now there's a lot more crazy people making money, which makes them crazier. But here in Utah, look at 477 million has migrated here. Now that's total. So what you look at is per capita. We might be one of the fastest paced growing by income per capita because we have a much lower population than some of these other states, which is changing. But what this tells me, so from a real estate agent standpoint, this is really interesting to me, is if we're making more money, that's going to help affordability. Home prices are going to stabilize. Buyer demand is going to stay, meaning there's going to be competition on homes. We're short on inventory. So prices will continue to go up. We'll continue to attract it based on how we're running our economy here. Then the other really interesting thing to see from a lead generation standpoint is where is this money coming from? Where are people moving from? You can see the states people are leaving. Do I have any lead generation efforts going on here of people coming to Utah? Am I building a relationship with agents here that there's a high likelihood that their next call from someone in their database isn't I'm ready to buy or sell a home in California. It's I'm ready to buy or sell a home somewhere else. Who do you know in Utah? Okay. Do they refer to you? Okay. To me, those are some of the funnest checks I get when number one is a referral out. It's a fun check. But when I get a call from someone being like, hey, I got someone ready to go, and I don't have to really sell myself versus every other agent. It's just I trust that agent. They trust you. Let's go. Okay. So key insights for this first one. It's not a price it's not necessarily a pricing problem. It's an affordability problem. The market is not crashing. We are not, in my opinion, we are not in a bubble. Okay. Supply is still tight. We know that supply is growing, but we'll start to see that slow a little bit. Demand is now stabilizing. It's like this waiting period for some people, but we're seeing more activity. I loved hearing the open houses that we're getting a lot more activity there. And rates have been slowing the market, but people are now saying, oh, these rates are normal. They're now accepting rates are what they are. So how do we answer this before AI? We need to create the conversation earlier. So here's some ideas that we'll wrap up with is number one is like, how can we use social media to instead of using social media to say, I have the knowledge, is how do we use social media to portray we understand you have some knowledge already, but we want to add context, strategy on top of that. So like we can start doing some more, Blaine and I have been talking a lot about this, is how do you do more content of not just the fun things you're doing in life, but actually portraying the importance of strategy around the conversation, okay? So whether it's social media, emails, what everyone is getting, like you could do an email, what everyone is getting wrong about the market today, okay? Things like this. Do more events. Like I love our client appreciation events. Start doing these little workshops, okay? This is where you get to portray your expertise. And it's okay if you do small coffee shop conversations or dinner parties, but make them not just about fun, but people worry about filling a room like this. You don't have to fill a room like this, okay? Just be like, hey, I'm every Thursday at 4:00, I'm gonna be at this local coffee shop, and I'm gonna bring 3 important questions that you should know about economics for your family right now. Everyone's welcome, right? Take pictures of it. People see it. They might not come to the first one. There might be one person at the first one. There might be nobody at the first one, but you still post about it. You talk about it, okay? These are the type of things we got to be doing to create some more context around who we are and how we operate. Okay, next question. Can I actually afford to buy a home right now? We're going to move a little bit faster. Let's go back to what they're, remember, feeling, the emotions. Everything is so expensive right now. I feel like I missed my chance. I don't make enough to buy anymore. Maybe I should just wait. Those are things they're feeling. This, to me, I say this sentence probably 3 times a week. Driving my kids through Chick-fil-A, which you think would be like, oh, let's go somewhere cheap. It's as expensive to drive through Chick-fil-A with 4 kids and their friends that it is like go sit down at a Mexican restaurant, right? It's just this everything. I literally say this, oh my gosh, everything is so stinking expensive right now. And I got to quit complaining because it just is what it is, right? So these are the emotions people are feeling around it right now. So what they're really asking here is it's not just about the price of the home, it's about the price of everything. It's their personal economics. So is home ownership still realistic for someone like me, or has the market passed me by? This is that they'll always look historically and if anybody looks back and says, yes, I should have bought more houses in 2011 and 2012. We should have, but we can't go back in time. So the key is what is the situation now? What are your needs now? What are your personal economics now? Where are you going to be in 5 years? What does that look like? Let's map it out. Let's create some strategy around it. Because the market has moved, but the market hasn't passed anyone by. The market, there will be a market tomorrow. That's what we need to get them to agree to is there will be a real estate market tomorrow. There will be a real estate market in 5 years from now. There will be a real estate market in 20 years from now. The question is what will it do from now here till then? The interesting, we need to understand backwards for context, but then we need to apply strategy of what it's going to likely do moving forward, probability, likelihood, okay? That's where we come in. So what AI is typically going to tell them, it's going to pull back to some element of affordability. It depends on your income, your debt, your savings. What's interesting is when AI comes in and tells them this, it's a good surface level answer. It all comes down to affordability. It comes down to your income. It tells them the definition of income. And then after it answers the question, how does it wrap it up? How does AI wrap up their answer to a question? Would you like me to? Okay. Because it wants to keep going. Yeah. So it's going to guess something of what you want next. So it could go. Who knows where it's going to go? And how often do people say yes? How often do you guys say yes? And like 45 minutes later, you're like, what was even the question I started with? We're way off track, but it doesn't care. It thinks you're on track because you said yes. So it could go affordability question, income, debt, and savings, then it could be like, do you want to know what the local banks are offering for savings rates right now? Yes. Well, here's the normal rates. Do you want to know how that compares to mutual funds? Yes. Do you want to know what mutual funds have done over the last 5 years? Yes. So now, am I even talking about buying a house anymore? No. But now I'm calling my banker and be like, do I need more mutual funds? Okay. So that's the point I want to make here is this is kind of the process they're going to go through. And we have to acknowledge it of what it's going to say. And then instead of rejecting it, we should pull that into the conversation, layer it with context. Okay. So what's missing in this? Again, no personalization, no strategy, no path forward. How does this apply to you? Context, strategy. Okay. So let's talk about affordability and how it's changing dramatically. So it changed dramatically. It was very affordable. Utah was very, very affordable to then by statistics, it became unaffordable. But if something was unaffordable, why are people still buying? Do people go out and buy things because this is actually unaffordable for me, but I'm going to buy it anyway? Well, that's not true. People do that on credit cards. But from a normal strategy standpoint, people aren't thinking through that if this is unaffordable to me, I'm going to buy something, but they're still buying homes because there's a portion of people that their personal economics, regardless of how it's defined in the textbook, they still say it's affordable to me based on how I'm living my life and what I need and what I want my life to look like. They're making a choice around affordability. So we need to acknowledge national affordability. We need to acknowledge statewide affordability, but then it's our job to get into what does affordability mean to you? Context, strategy, that's us, okay? So let's look at a couple things. I thought this was really interesting to look at. So if we only look at a graph of home prices going up, we can look at it and be like, crap, that stinks. Home prices are so expensive now. But then to Steph's point back there is look what income has done in Utah over the last couple of years. So this is, you can't really see it here. 2025 to 2026. So this is a 1-year change on this.
This is so small, but if you did not sign in, you're not gonna get the slides. So if you want the slides, make sure you sign in before you. Or text.
So we're sitting here in Weber Canyon. Let's look at this. So 2025, the average income needed. This is not the average income. This is the average income needed to buy a medium priced home. Okay. So we've already seen the incomes going up, but what happened is last year in Weber County, the statistics said you needed to be making $153,000 per household to be able to afford a house. Well, look at what's happened. It's actually gone down by 5.29% this year. Okay. Home prices appreciated 2%. Interest rates have softened. Prices have stabilized. So that comes down to it's actually, you're getting a 5% discount this year than last year. Davis County got 5.7. So you can kind of see what's happened across Utah as a state is down 4.4% from where it was a year ago from an affordability standpoint based on median price home, interest rates, and median income. Okay, this is great to talk to buyers and sellers about. Okay, I thought that was really interesting. We won't go into any of that. I'll put just to Rusty's point, get the slides, get deeper into some of this. So it's not just about prices, it's about the combination of prices plus rates. This again is where we can talk strategy. Normally, when someone's coming to me with concern, they've hung their hat on one piece of concern. So like with affordability, it's oftentimes it's like prices are so high. And they understand to some level how the other things play into it, but they make it all about prices. So if I can pull it back to let's define affordability and what drives prices, then I can talk about the other pieces and come back to prices with them. Okay. So let's look at Utah home prices, because this is the graph they look at and freak out. But if you go look at this and come back to this, it changes the conversation, new context, new strategy. One of the things that I think is really interesting for the state of Utah particularly, this yellow line shows the long-term average drawn at 4%. So going back, for some reason, they decided 2003 was kind of like this establisher. I actually think if you went back farther, it would be even more interesting to see. But this is where the identity of Utah changed somewhere right in here. Okay, where Utah was kind of known as like how we look at Wayne County now, right? It was like, oh, it's the West. People still walk around in well, I guess I'm wearing cowboy boots today. But that's how the world looked at us. But now we are an economic engine. Like we are a destination. We are a place that people want to go to. Okay. So somewhere in here, we changed identity. That my argument would be this yellow line actually should have a slash in it right there. And it should kind of be shifted up. Because it'd be easy to look at this and say, we're so overpriced as a market. If we were the same identity we were before, I could get on board with that argument. But what I can't get on board with is the identity of who we are now as a robust economy and how we operate and how we attract people to our state, the way our government works. We are very attractive to a lot of people and we operate differently. We're a different identity that this actually should be higher, which doesn't put any of these too far out of whack. If it was this and back down, that would be a different argument. But when we see this and stabilize, now we're seeing like there's enough here to buoy the prices, okay? And we're likely to see that continue to go up. If you look at the US, because this is why people compare it to this and think we're way overpriced, because we're only, the US is only 7.4% above the trend. We're 49% up against this trend line. So again, you've got to decide for yourself if you believe my argument on it. But like I'm still actively looking to buy in Utah based on this, okay? So interesting to look at mortgage rates. So right now, this is one of the reasons people are staying in their homes longer than historically. For some of them, it's that, yes, I love my home. I want to stay here forever. But a lot of people, it's, I love my rate in combination with this house, okay? And so we look at 80.1% of mortgages have a rate of 5% or less. Then more than likely, they may never see rates in 4s again. For high probability, we'll ever see rates in 3s again. But you can even look at like 38.1% of Utah mortgages have a rate between 3 to 4%. This person, it's that they're taking that into consideration and making a move, okay? Because they're going to trade a 3.5% rate for a 5.75% rate or somewhere in there, okay? So it's not just I'm selling a house at this price point to this price point, so they should be equal. It's I'm selling a house at this price point and I'm buying something at this price point. I could even buy something worth less and my mortgage payment could be higher, okay? The good news though, with a lot of this that's helping offset this is the amount of equity people have in their homes, okay? Because they can either use some of that equity of buy downs. Sometimes if their income is steady and good, a lot of times they're like, yeah, it's a little bit more money per month, but I'm going to be a lot happier here. And people are willing to spend money for quality of life. Okay. That changes for someone in a lower income status or someone uncertain about their income. Okay. So these are all questions that we need to be asking because we're bringing context to the table, but what are we also doing? We're drawing out context for them. The idea is stack context with the goal of helping them make the right decision for them. So we all know what inventory, which is interesting. The government says balanced market equals 6 months. You guys have heard me say before, what do I like to see as a balanced market? I like to see 3 to 4 months. Like really 3 months is probably lower than it needs to be, but man, it makes real estate fun when things are moving, right? Right now we're at 4.3%. So we're below what the feds think is like a really balanced market. But there was a very short amount of time we were here. It's so interesting to me that they still preach that because they knew we were in a financial crisis here or coming out of a financial crisis. And that's the only time we crossed 6%. Back here, we were stabilized a little bit in the late 90s. And then before that, we were in a different economic world at that point. A lot higher interest rates, like in the teens, high teens. Be interesting to see how this stacks. Last year, 4.2. We're at 4.3 now. Is there some stabilization going on there? Okay. It's interesting again in Utah, we are seeing increased buyer activity. We're seeing increased transactions and we're seeing increased people having the listing conversations right now. One of the things that's driving that is projected housing demand. This is what they're projecting from 2024 to 2023 from the housing units needed by county. And so you look again, here we are in Weber County, they're projecting that another 10,477 housing units. So a housing unit could be anything from a 1-bedroom condo up to $1 million house. Okay, so it's just housing units depending on who's going to buy. But we know that we're significantly behind Davis County 16, So all of Utah, based on who they think is gonna come here, we're 44,000 units needed over the next several years. So we're gonna see a lot of construction going on. But the construction takes time. So people are already wanting stuff, and if there's not new inventory, then what do they look at? Existing inventory or moving into their parents' bedroom, not bedrooms, basements. That's a little too close. That's too close.
Yeah.
So this is just another way to look at that, Utah population outlook. 2 million new residents by 2065. Which again, we could all go down this path of now conversations around water usage and density and things like that. There's gonna be a lot of new things we have to think through over the next several years, but the one thing I know is Utah will remain attractive. Utah will draw people in. This is gonna be, it's good for our industry, for what we do for a living, is people are going to have housing needs.
We've seen this adjust at all with, because I do feel like this was projected obviously on a more affordable status that we had years ago. The affordability is not there as much as it was pre-2020. So I'm curious if they're starting to adjust this number down because we did have so much net migration in. We always replenish ourselves, right? We've
Yeah.
had a lot of net migration in, even the internal growth has slowed a little bit. So I'm curious to see how much this has adjusted.
Yeah.
With
This
some
is
of the affordability.
That's a great question, because this graph was actually put together, this data was put together in late 2023.
Yeah.
So this one could have changed. This one was released this year. Yeah. It says 2025, but like this is all the data from 2025. And then if you guys ever follow Kemp C. Gardner up at the University of Utah, they're analyzing data constantly. So this one is a more up-to-date stat. I didn't break down the math, this graph versus this graph. They might be a little bit different because if this one's a little bit more updated in its data set. Okay, good question though. And then again, these are the things that we should be asking and thinking through to be the experts in our industry so that we can talk through that with people. Okay, great question. In fact, when you guys are looking at the slides, because I know you're all going to be so excited to get the slides and sit down and read them at night, is I would encourage you to come up with like, what are the questions I should know? Like, what should I be asking as the professional? If I'm the professional, what should this graph be making me ask questions about? And then I would say, okay, if it's making me ask those questions, do I know how to answer them? And then if I'm going to ask the question that way as a professional, what is my client going to wake up and ask that same question? Like, what words are they going to use? And then how did I get them from that to this? And then if I know how to answer that question, I'm not going to answer this question the way they're going to ask it. I'm going to ask them questions to get them to a better question. And then I'm going to answer the question. Like that's the skill that we need to be learning as a group. And it takes practice. Like this is not something anyone wakes up really good at. It's you have to practice. It starts by you guys being here. Like to me, this is awesome. How many agents do we have on the board? 2,500. And look, we've got a room of 50 of us in the room that are actually having this conversation. Okay. Congratulations on that. So US, same thing. We looked at this with Utah. This is home sales nationally stabilizing. Okay. Utah home sales up we're pacing right now up 3.4% from last year. We were up 2025 over 2024, which if this paces will outpace 2025, probably get us somewhere closer back to like 22, a little more, maybe even a little bit more than 22. And if you look at that, like if you compare that to this, it's like, well, yeah, we're down. But that was the highest we've ever been in the state of Utah ever. If you look at, if we can end here again, like if you go back to 2005, 2006, we all thought this was a great year. More realistic, if you look over here when we thought the market was finally coming back, we all thought the market was screaming right here. Okay. And that's where we're at in transactions right now. Okay. Now our population's higher. Interest rates are higher, more product. So we should anticipate more transactions. Okay. Yes. Oh.
I'm just giving you a warning.
Oh.
You're out of time. You got about 5 slides. And I know what your slide deck looks like, so I'm like, oh boy.
Everyone close your eyes for a minute, 'cause I'm gonna skip ahead like it's 20. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna same idea here. Reels, emails, events. Be thinking about have a conversation. So the next question we were gonna talk about is, should I sell now? Honestly, the data for on the sell side and the buy side is just having the same conversation a little bit different. Okay, it really comes down to affordability. They're just looking at affordability a little bit different. Think about, this is the big word I want you to take away from this, is what emotions do they have around that? You can empathize, you can relate to them. AI cannot empathize and relate to them. Then it's how are they getting the information? How can I go support that with good data? And not just be the nerd that knows the data, but how are you providing context, your context as a professional? How are you helping them draw out their context? How are you putting it together? Become the strategist. So it's the same idea. What I'm going to do real quickly is I'm just going to look at this and pull out a couple slides that I think are important for us to look at from a standpoint. This is our market. So this is Utah snapshot. You can see this first piece here shows January, February, March, and then all of Q1. Okay, so it's interesting here to look at from a new listing standpoint. You can see we started a little soft, but we're up 2.9% in new listings. Closed sales, we're up 3.4% in closed sales. Median sales price, we already saw this, we're up 2%. Housing affordability is stabilized. That's a good sign for us. Remember, a perfectly affordable market, that score would be 100. So anything below 100 would suggest by textbook we're unaffordable. If people are buying, it's affordable to them. So we have to look at a data set, but then we have to draw out what is affordable to the individual. Okay. There's another way to look at what's going on in Utah market. New listings, same thing. One thing I want to point out here is as KW is a brand, we're outperforming the market by 26%. Pending sales were outperforming the market by 13.5, and closed sales were outperforming the market by 12.9, which means one thing to keep in mind is the consumer has choices right now. So when the consumer has choices and they're asking better questions, they're choosing us more often. And what I attribute that a lot to, it's not the color of the brand. It's how you guys are showing up. It's you guys are choosing to be the professionals. You guys are choosing to get better at the conversations. So even though our leadership team, we work our guts out to support you, we don't take credit for this. You guys take credit for this because of how you're showing up and who you are in the industry. Davis County. So we're just gonna talk about Davis County and Weber real quick. New listings. This one was actually more interesting to me than Weber County, because if you remember, Davis County last year really stalled out. People had more ability to sit and wait in Davis County last year. We saw a lot more activity in Weber County. We're seeing that kind of swing back in 2026. So Davis County new listings are up 9.9. Closed sales are up 21.8% from where they were a year ago. So just remember how Davis County was like less movement last year, a lot more people sitting on it. This might be some 2026 decisions, but it also might be some latent 2025 decisions of people waiting to see. Okay. Weber County, and this shows up where you can see like Weber County closed sales is only up 7.6%, which is still really, really good. But it's just interesting to see that in relation to Davis County. So your Davis County people, it may be time for some more conversations around that specifically. Okay, I'll include that so you guys can look at all counties. We've already talked about inventory. Some more, we gotta talk about that. Same thing, we always track our market share to see how we're doing from a market share standpoint. The thing I'd love to see is KW still sells more real estate than anybody in Utah. Again, I say KW did that, but it wasn't us. It's you guys out hustling, doing what you do. So I just thank you guys for driving the reputation in our industry. So most sellers don't want to. Oh, that's not there more bars. I'm sorry, I'm moving here. So the key insights from this one, because I do have some things I want to wrap up our conversation on. You're still selling near the top of the market price wise. So people look at that as the top of the market, but top would suggest that it's going to go down. The top means we're at top historically, but we're not at the top of where it's going. Okay. It's helping them get that context. Conditions are shifting, but people's personal economic situations are shifting. We need to walk through that. Waiting does introduce new risks on both sides of the equation. This is no longer a name your price market, and sometimes people expect that piece of it. So again, going back to what we talked about before, it's empathize, get better at that conversation. Do things within your database, work your database of more social conversations, more emails, more phone calls with the intent of context. Okay. Be the strategist, not just knowledge, because they have another source of knowledge now. And then the last question that a lot of people are asking AI is, do I really need an agent? What really does it come down to when they ask, do I need an agent? Do they want the process to be easy? Do they think, do most people think this, are like agents make things so hard? Maybe to some extent, but most people know that if you're working for them, you're gonna make things easier, you're gonna do things for them, okay? So it's not that they don't like the, like you working for them. What is it? Why would they ask that question?
Money.
It's a money question. Things are tight right now. Does it really make sense to use a real estate agent? Now, what I would say is, the answer to this is, they shouldn't hire a real estate agent if their expectations or previous history has been that my real estate agent, all they did was open a door and fill out a form for me. If that's been their experience and and that would be their experience again, maybe they shouldn't hire one. Okay. But in a really simple market, they might get away with that once in a while and be okay. This is not a simple market. This is not a simple economy. Things are complex. So the question here isn't, should I hire an agent? It's how do I be part of a network of an agent that actually is bringing me value on a day-to-day basis, whether I need a real estate transaction today or not. So when the time comes, I've already got the context, I've already got the relationship, I've already got the confidence, the trust in this person, that it is a no-brainer for me that I am going to save money through this transaction, other than I'm losing money by participating with a real estate agent. Okay. People are getting very, very good at telling the story of why not. We need to get better at telling the story of why. Because I'm more convinced than ever, and I've been an agent for a long time, I'm more convinced than ever that the landscape of the world now is they need us more than ever. They need us to be better though. They need us to be better. They need us to be earlier. Not saying like 30 minutes early to the appointment, but what I'm saying is earlier in the conversation. They need us to be experts. They need us to bring context. They need us to bring empathy to the table. Okay. So these are some of the things they're thinking about. We just talked through that. So it's arguments that AI is making. By the way, when it's saying, do I really need an agent? What's this assuming their thought process already is? They're assuming that you want them to confirm they don't need one. Like before it answers, it makes an assumption of what you want to hear, and then it builds a case to answer it. So if they're answering the question, it's going to build a very compelling argument of why they don't need you, okay? So what's missing is not really understanding what actually creates a better outcome. We need to educate them beforehand. Let's go back to the basic questions. We asked, is it a good time to buy? Can I afford it? Should I sell now or wait? Go through this quickly. I included some other like short data sets in here that you guys can read. I added a lot of slides here at the end. I want to get to this though. So what do I mean by you being a strategist? This is the big thing I want you to take away from the conversation today. This number one is, do you have the ability to interpret the market? Okay. How many of you speak another language? Handful of you. When you interpret from somebody, it's a challenge because you're gaining context in one language and your brain has to change it to a different language. Not only you're not doing it word for word. You have to think through contextually, how do they receive that information, right? So a lot of times when you translate something word for word, the other person's like, I'm kind of getting it, but if you can change it contextually and say, I know what you're saying, and that makes sense in English, but when I'm saying it in Portuguese, I've got to change it to how they receive the information. It's the same data here as, I don't want you just to come to the market update and flood over the data to say, I've got the data. It's, do you have the ability to interpret it in a way that makes sense for who's in your database, okay? So now creating a strategy. So this is based on their situation, not the data. So when you have 100 slides of data, that is not the strategy you take to somebody. That's your knowledge base that you're going to use to create the strategy for the person. I have the knowledge. Now I need to know you. I need to understand where you're at. What's important to you? Where are you going? Why are you thinking about this now? Where are you going to be in 5 years? Is your income going to change? How secure are you in your income and your job? Those type of things. And then when they give me that context, I get to draw off this knowledge to strategize and create the plan. Okay. Help them avoid mistakes. This is where they want you. If they thought the process was easy, they wouldn't need you. If you can help them avoid the mistakes, that's where they're like, oh my gosh, I made the money. This is a big thing that's different. When I was first trained in real estate, the thing I was trained to do is deal with problems in a way that your client never even knows about them. That's great customer service. Do not do that anymore. Still solve the problem, but then you need to go make sure your client knows, like, hey, we're almost in trouble and I saved the day. Okay. We need to tell the story of what we're doing. And I know we hate to do it. And I don't just need to tell this client, I need to make some noise about it so everybody knows in a not a braggy way, but I'm going to make sure my clients know I save people money. I save people from catastrophe. There are pitfalls in real estate transactions. I navigate them. Okay. What's that?
That's your value. I mean, that's so much of the value that they're hiring you to take.
This is your value, but if you don't get to do it, no one knows about it. So you have to tell the story here so you can do it. Okay, great comments. And then give confidence to act. People don't want you at the end of the day to be like, hey, well, what do you want to do? People want direction. So you get better at saying things like this. Look, we've sat here for 30 minutes talking about what the market's doing. We've got very detailed on what's important to you and your family. If I were in your shoes, these are the next steps I would take and when I would take them. I would do 1, 2, and 3. Is that the direction you want to go? Don't just be like, I'm giving you the information. You guys let me know. Don't walk out of a listing appointment being like, well, just call me if you want to. I would go back and be more direct of saying, look, I think I have a very good understanding of what you're trying to accomplish. I hope you are gaining confidence with what we talked about today. Do you feel like I'm the person that can help you navigate through this process today? Okay, then the next step is logically to sign paperwork and let me go to work. Okay, let's be confident in who we are. If you don't believe in you, guess what? They won't believe in you.
No.
If you don't trust you can save them money, they will not trust it. You've got to portray that trust, but not falsely. Like they will know if you're doing it, like if you're hyping yourself up. You need to go through this process. Okay. AI versus you. I'll include all this. We already talked at length of this. So agents who win are going to answer the questions before they're asked, use data to create clarity. So we're talking about this. Thank you. As Rusty's coming up, any questions for me as we finalize today? Did this message resonate with you?
Yeah.
Did it freak you out a little bit?
Yeah.
I'm actually glad you said yes. Because unfortunately right now, if I don't leave a room or people like feel a little bit sick and they're telling me if it's like, I got to be better, then I didn't do my job. We got to be better. But what makes being better easier is being in an environment where we're all trying to be a little bit better and we see the industry the same. That's our biggest risk is you've got to be in a community that's having these conversations. And if what I said to you doesn't resonate with you, then wait, I would love for it to resonate with you.
I was like, then what, Marcus? What's the next?
This is how we save our, I want to save our.
You are on fire with this right now.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Anyway, I'm going to hand this to you.
Thanks.
Otherwise I'll keep going.
Okay. Huge round of applause. Thank you, Marcus. I know we ran a little bit over, but Miss Christina in the back, come on down. We're going to give her a couple minutes. While she's coming up, I just want to say this, that if it freaked you out, I hope it's in a good way. I hope it makes you take action. Because one of the things, I had a conversation earlier today, and I believe there's some things to be desired in this industry. And I know that I am in a room with people that also believe that, and I feel like we can grow as leaders. And we are leaders in our businesses and we need more of that. And so I hope you did get a little bit scared, but in a good way that you were like, I'm going to go and do something a little bit better today. 1% better.
Oh,
Christina, I can't do the goat.
No. That's why you can't have us as your side job. Yeah.
I will not be the goat voice for my side job.
Oh,
So
I could teach you
it will
that.
forever be yours.
It's in the throat.
Go ahead.
How's everybody doing? Good to see all you awesome humans, as always. Obviously a lot of familiar faces, so you probably don't need to hear my spiel, right? You guys have all heard it before? Yeah. Okay, I'll just make it easy. Oh yes, I am a home inspector. That is right. How did you know that? I'm going to inspect your furnace in 2 seconds. Just kidding. So Christina with Ibex Home Warranty. Obviously, I'm right up there. Thank you very much, Rosie, for doing that. That number there is my personal cell phone. So put it in your phone. If you guys have any questions, call me anytime. If it's 2 a.m, I will answer, but I will not sound that happy. So bear with me. So all of you know who Ibex Home Warranty is. We opened up the company because we want to make a difference in the home warranty business. We were agents ourselves, so we knew what was wrong with the system. So obviously we wanted to make it bigger, better, and more awesome for you and your clients. But one of the things that I learned over the years was I go to the grocery store, okay? And I see is there any Karens in here? Okay, I see a Karen and I want to avoid conflict. So what do? I hurry and hide down the other aisle by the tampons. And then I run this way and I go over by the condoms. And because I know they're not going to go there, right? So it makes it easier to avoid the conflict. Well, when you avoid conflict, it causes a lot more problems, doesn't it? Because that's part of communication as a real estate agent. Well, having your clients, like I know you all do, communicate with your clients, letting know the whole process, what they're going to be involved in, so on and so forth, right? It makes the transaction go smoothly, doesn't it? Like a beautiful wave in the ocean right now. So that is what Ibex wanted to do. We wanted to put it all out there, every single thing we cover. We do not hide anything. We don't avoid conflict. So that's one of the benefits with our company. So literally, guys, every single thing in yellow is covered. That is how easy and simple it is. The other benefit is we're all about inclusions, not exclusions. So that's why we don't have fine print exclusions under the 6 major components we cover. So easy, right? All you have to do is show your client, look at this child drawing, everything in yellow, color yellow. If they're colorblind, help them out. And tell them everything's covered in that item. So we cover what breaks from normal wear and tear after they fund and record on the house. Warranty starts the day they fund and record, which is normally 3 to 5 p.m. still, right?
Yep.
There you go. So then their coverage is there. The other thing that we do not like to do is hide information, because once you hide information and they find out you hid it and they didn't know about it, buyers are going to be PO'd, right? And then who are they going to call and complain to? Every one of you. And we don't like that, because if they do that, then you call me and complain to me at 2 o'clock in the morning, and then I'm not happy. So
Can we just all agree to please not call Christina at 2 a.m.?
I've had it happen. That's why I bring it up all the time. So this is how simple it is. This is the only fine print. This is on our website, page 12 of 13, only fine print. And it shows every single thing. We do not hide nothing. So a big one that everybody has questions about, caps. Everybody know what caps are? Yep. The limit you will go on covering that item. So the reason everybody needs caps is because they'll go out of business. If they say they do not have caps, read the fine print, ask questions. There's something there. We have no additional fees. So they get a brand new water heater, we're not charging them for anything. They get a brand new furnace, we're not charging them for anything, as long as it's in the cap. So if every single thing in their house breaks that we cover, we will spend $17,000 per year. That's our cap. That's the total cap. So really easy and simple. Other than that, we cover Freon, no limit. Freon's very expensive. So we cover that, which everybody hopefully will be turning on their AC units here soon. We call it Hell Week, but you guys don't, because you're getting air conditioned. Other than that, that's it. We're just plain and simple. We all live here, Utah County up to Cache Valley. If you need anything, let me know. And next time you're writing up your Rep C in section 10, make sure you go with Ibex Home Warranty. And I got 2 lines out there. So do 2 lines for me.
Hey, awesome, you guys. There's lunch out there for you. Thank you for coming today. I hope you got some value. And let me know if you have anything.
I wasn't actually,